Welcome, everyone, to Life Beyond 6 Feet. I, of course, am Damion from RKB Paranormal, and this is going to be a bonus episode for you guys. Recently, I was a guest on the amazing paranormal and spooky podcast, Middle Aged and Creeped Out, and those guys were kind enough to send me the episode to present to you guys as a bonus episode. So hopefully, you guys will check it out and become a fan of their podcast as you're a fan of mine. So enjoy my interview with the guys from Middle Aged and Creeped Out.
Hello there. Are you ready to hear tales of the paranormal, weird, unexplained, and just plain creepy? If the answer is yes, then welcome to your worst nightmare. But be warned, there's no turning back. Now here are Todd, Sean, and Nate, and they are middle-aged and creeped out.
Hey Creepies, welcome to episode 121. Nate is your sound engineer, and we are your hosts, Todd and Sean, and we are middle-aged and creeped out. What is going on, gentlemen?
Great night on a Wednesday.
121 already, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Man,
that
these
is
are
the
going
number.
quick.
Let me check.
Yeah.
That is 121.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The math is correct.
Yeah. I haven't made a mistake in quite a few weeks
it's
now.
been-
Let me count my fingers and toes. Give me a minute.
I would ask my wife to do that, but it
Oh, don't do that.
Oh yeah.
We've
you
seen the
gave me
pictures.
chills.
Nate
Sorry,
was-
Amy.
Creepy. She
He was dry
wow.
heaving over here.
yeah. I didn't think it was that bad. It's not that
No,
great,
wasn't
but it's
dry
not.
even, but it
No,
just
you-
sending body chills. It's just one of those things.
She had her 1 week checkup at the foot doctor yesterday, and they took the wrapping and bandages off, and so you can see the stitching, and it's gnarly's the word I've been using. It's
Gnarly
very
is
gnarly.
a good way to put it.
And you thought it was a good photogenic opportunity, huh?
I did. I took a picture of that. I took actually a couple pictures of her heel or of her calf because they did heel surgery, and that's pretty minimal.
You'll never let her live that down.
No. Our daughter, Amy, sent the picture of it to her, texted it, and she goes, "That's not good." She wasn't quite thrilled with the picture either, and then I said,
I'm
"Hey,
no
Elijah, did you see
doctor,
it?"
but
I go, "Did you show Elijah?" And he goes, "I don't want to see that." I go, "Come on, you watch horror movies and blood and guts," and he's like, "Yeah, but it's like because it's real." And I think it's because
every time I mentally think about it, it still sends chills down my legs.
Let's see it. Maybe I'll post it on. No, I asked her. I go,
don't.
I
post
did
that
ask her yesterday. I
Wow.
go, "Can I post it on the Facebook group?" She goes, "Do not post that on the Facebook." I go, I said, "Can I do it for my
It's
Tuesday
middle-aged,
terror?"
It's creepy.
So I told her I was going to post it on the Tuesday terror.
There you go.
Post it and just put a caption underneath there. Get a leg up.
Oh.
Something is afoot.
Something's
like you
afoot. There's a leg. Yeah, it is pretty gnarly. But yeah, it is Wednesday, Sean.
That's
we're
right.
recording. Had a nice little guest chat. Your guys' week going okay so far?
Mm-hmm.
Making it through.
Yeah.
Our little Bean had her 10th birthday yesterday,
Oh.
so she turned double digits. I told her it's
Ella.
hold on for a while. That's Ella.
Happy
Yep,
birthday,
Bean.
Ella.
I told her, I said, hold on, double digits are a long time until you turn
So-
100, then you get triple digits.
So now all four are double digits.
That's right.
Nice.
That is right.
Nice. Good luck with that.
That's right. Just wait till they're all
till-
teenagers.
yeah,
at once.
wait till. Oh my goodness.
It's gonna happen.
Well, happy
Yeah.
birthday, Ella. That's awesome. And Nate, you're like you said, you're hanging in there, just a little tired.
Yeah. A little
I
different
gotcha.
schedule this week as far as sleep. So
I got you.
feeling it a little.
Yeah.
He's got the toothpicks in
understand.
his eyes, holding his
Yeah.
eyes up.
Yeah.
Like the cartoon
they're,
characters.
they're kind of bending.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. That's who I thought of. Yeah. And remember, you see like the red veins. They're,
Exactly right.
Well, we are glad the Creepies have joined us.
Absolutely.
As always. And guess what? Guess what?
Oh, what?
Wait a minute. What was that? Nate?
Grumpy over here.
What? What do you mean by that?
I can't
You
wait.
mean like,
You know
oh,
I can't
why?
wait. Oh my gosh, what is it? Joke time? Oh wait.
It is the dad joke of the show. So the other day,
Mhm.
I was very hungry, which is all the time pretty much, so nothing new there. I decided to go to McDonald's, and I got a kid's meal. Boy, was the mom and son pissed. I got the kids meal.
Yeah.
the
So
sun.
you
and-
got the yes.
Yeah, I
I
see.
got. I actually did get it.
I
I was just waiting for that awkward silence.
yeah. That's
Dead air.
See, I took the kids' meal. See, and I,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
By the way, I thought it was.
We
gonna
need
be-
laugh track.
I thought I'd get a better reaction. than that. I like that. By the way, and I was gonna, I apologize ahead of time. This was supposed to have been mentioned last week, so I'm calling myself out because it is sponsored.
That's awesome.
Call
So I
it
wanted to
out.
do the dad joke and then focus on the sponsorship afterwards. So yes, this dad joke is sponsored. The sponsor is Cody Hill. Now he is the owner of Hillside Lawn Care, based out of Mooresville, Indiana. And this is the guy that he just completed our landscape at our house a few weeks ago, and it does look amazing. Now,
Nice.
granted, we did not have any landscape. Barely. But no, his prices are reasonable. He did a fantastic job, very professional, very easy to work with. He also does lawn mowing as part of the services that he offers. So he does landscaping and mowing. So contact Cody Hill today for a free quote, and you can reach him by phone at 317-937-1551. Again, 317-937-1551. Or you can check him out on Hillside Lawn Care, which he has a Facebook page. Make sure you tell him that you heard about us on. I'm sorry. Make sure you tell tell him that you heard about him on Mako. That's what I meant to say.
That's lots of words.
Goodness.
Lots of words.
Yeah, but no, Cody Hill, great guy, and he does fantastic work. Very, very good.
Thank
so
you, Cody.
We are very pleased with our landscape, and we have gotten 2 or 3 compliments, which made us feel
Sweet.
good. Yeah, great guy though. He's fantastic, very professional. So yeah, check out Hillside Lawn Care, which is the sponsor of the awesome joke that I just did.
We appreciate our sponsors.
We do appreciate
do.
our sponsors.
We even appreciate the jokes.
And I will say, I go, hey, Cody, what segment?
I want to go that far.
I said, I asked him what segment. He goes, oh, dad joke. Absolutely. Because he said he likes to do dad jokes and he gets the eye roll and the, from his kids.
Well, that's
So
the point, isn't it?
I said, then that's what you get. I mean, you got to get the eye roll.
Uh-huh.
That means you've succeeded. So yeah, so give Cody, give him a call or check him out on Facebook. So anyway, it was exciting to have a sponsor for that. Now I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Sean.
I suppose you want the first part of the announcements.
I'm looking at my show flow notes and it says first announcements.
Check.
Sean, yeah.
We are here, as always. Every show, we are here with the spooky, creepy, paranormal. We are here for the guy time. Lots of fun, but we definitely want to always put this back in focus to the mental health community we are building. So if you need help out there, call or text 988 for any type of mental distress, suicide prevention, or any other type of crisis that you may be experiencing. You can also text 741-741. If you think you need professional counseling, please don't be afraid to do so. Visit stopbullying.gov to help you or someone you know who may be experiencing some sort of bullying. Reach out to our Facebook group, Instagram account, email, or message us for any added support. That is what our Mako family is all about.
Amen.
Right?
And
day one.
Fantastic.
fantastic, as Nate says. Our friend Shamrock O'Malley made a nice post the other day
She really
on our
did.
Facebook group and
Yeah.
said that she appreciates the community that we built. And I said, that's what fuels us. That's
You know-
those comments like that.
Yeah.
Trust me, we like to hear that they love the show and what we talk about. And
They think we're awesome.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
We're
Well,
big
this is
deal.
like,
Big
well,
deal. We
my
know.
wife tells me that all the time, so kind of gets old a little bit. No,
All
she
the
was-
autographs. Right?
yeah. No, but that is exactly what we're talking about. Somebody that appreciates the community that we built.
Well, but even before when we were putting all the bits and pieces and the foundation of this podcast together during COVID, you and I would have those discussions. And that was one of the biggest things, is that we want to make sure that we're putting something out there. And that was
Beyond this.
Exactly. And the emotional support group and the community was a big part of it. So we had that as a cornerstone, honestly. So I'm so impressed that we've done this the entire time and that we're going to continue to do it. So
I like what we do.
You know what? We've
You
got
like it a lot.
We've got Nate's. He's impressed.
Nate's approval.
He is impressed.
Stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Nate approved.
Well, then that's all we need. We like I said, we want to talk about the creepy fun stuff, but I mean, it's got to go past that. Got to get a little bit more.
That's right.
So,
That's the fun stuff. This is the serious stuff.
Are you saying we have depth? You're not going that far.
No, I think we do a little bit more than I thought we'd ever have. No, but yes, thank you for that, Sean. Do you guys have any shout-outs?
I'm going to say no this time.
No, you don't?
No.
Nate?
Yeah, I'm right there with the no.
No? Man, 0 for 2?
0 for
Well,
2.
I don't get to go out and play in public too much
He
anymore.
doesn't get out. He doesn't
What
get
is
out
going on
much. To all the drivers on the road
Nobody
today
at Taco
and
Bell
yesterday.
that, like I do, hey. shout
I
out
don't even
to
get to do that.
Johnny Bingo, who waited on me. Okay, well, you know what?
The
I
most
actually
I
don't.
do is hit a grocery store on the way out to the camper, and I check myself out. So
Oh, so you get to the cashier, Robbie.
hey,
who,
shout
shout out
yeah.
to myself for
For
the
checking out
fabulous
Check out.
scanning of product and
Yeah.
bagging.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's good.
So,
Good-
yeah.
good
Nate,
job.
I think you need to call some of these numbers up here that we just gave out.
Sean, you want to go over that again?
I absolutely
Yeah.
do.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give a shout out because I felt so bad about forgetting to give his sponsorship. Cody Hill again, Hillside Lawn Care. Give him a call. Check him out. Hillside Lawn Care on Facebook, 937-1551, area code 317. Again, we are so proud and feel great that we actually have some landscape. And I think when we've gotten compliments, people are actually going, it's about time. I think that's what they, I mean, they know it looks good. They
zero
know
to
Cody did
hero,
great,
huh?
but I think they're also going, thank you for giving a little more curb appeal to your place. I'm like, don't worry about it.
Did they think
Anyway.
your abode was abandoned?
They did. Oh, we didn't know anybody lived there. No, Cody, man, I'm telling you, he did a great job. So anyway, my shout out again is to Cody Hill.
I'm keeping his information for sure.
Yes, and he's great. Okay. Other than that, I don't have any more shout outs. Special announcements. As always, we want to mention our Keeping It Creepy 2023 live show. It's going to be on Saturday, October 7th from 5 to 9. It is going to be at the Ellis Park train station in Danville, Indiana, and tickets can be purchased for only $15 at the Eventbrite website or the app. We are going to have fiction author and owner of Anatolian Press, Micah Campbell, and along with paranormal investigator Aaron Egnatz of Hauntings Across America. They will both be our special guests. We've had them both on our show a couple of times. We're going to have some good food, good music, some awesome Mako merch for sale, some fun giveaways. So come out for a night of creeped out fun. It's going to be here before you know it. And then this will be the last time I mention it. I just want to make sure, again, our Mako on location for August 5th. We have canceled it, our showing, but they are still at the Randolph County Asylum. They still have their tour, flashlight tour from 7 to 8:30. So please go check out that place, but we will not be there. So I just want to make sure, if you're going to get my autograph, I won't be there. I apologize. I'm sorry.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
We'll get there at some point, though.
We will.
That's
We
right.
will. And we've got a couple more, we're talking about. We'll get them scheduled, and then we'll have those. Yeah.
Planning to do, right?
Big planning. So coming off of that, Mr. Sean, tell the creepies what this episode's all about.
We just had a wonderful guest chat with a new friend of the show, is Damion Christie of RKB Paranormal. He's also the co-host of a podcast called Life Beyond 6 Feet. Enjoy, creepies.
Hey, creepies, we have a special guest on our show for this episode. He is a co-founder of the RKB Paranormal team. He does have a podcast called Life Beyond 6 Feet. Let's bring on Damion Christie. Damion, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good. I'll let Sean and Nate say hi to you.
Hey, Damion.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
We're good. We're good. Thanks for coming on and taking your time. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to be able to do this. Let's go ahead and just get into the fun stuff. Damion, tell our listeners and, of course, us, how did you get into the paranormal?
Now, where would I even begin? I've always been into it ever since I was like a little kid. But I really got into it when I was a teenager. Me and my two best friends growing up, we were always just really intrigued by it. And, when we were drive, instead of being out on the weekends partying and doing your typical teenager stuff, we was out, going to cemeteries and breaking into abandoned houses that we heard was haunted and just trying to figure out if anything was actually going on in these places. And, actually starting a team was something we always talked about, even though this was before all the TV shows. So we didn't even really knew that people would actually do this stuff. And then, of course, when the shows came out, we were like, oh man, there's actually people that go out and do this. We need to actually do that. And so, we still talked about it. And then, of course, we got into adulthood and we all got married and started having kids. And so it just kind of was put on the back burner, but it was still always there. We always still talked about it. And, when we really got really into talking about it was about 2008, 2009. My best friend Keith told me about Waverly Hills.
Oh yeah.
He showed me some stuff online, and he's like, "Man, we got to go to this place. They let people in there. We got to go." And in 2011, Keith was a police officer in our hometown of Dixon, Tennessee, and he was shot and killed in the line of duty. And so the dream of us three friends, that kind of came to just an unexpected halt whenever he passed away. But it was still something me and my other best friend Josh, who's my co-founder, still something we talked about, throughout the years. And then fast forward to 2020, the pandemic shut everything down, and can't really go anywhere. But I'm on vacation from work, so I'm like, I'm still going to go to some of these places that probably aren't going to have a lot of people in them regardless. So I'm going to go check out some places that I've wanted to check out. And Berkeley Mountain State Penitentiary was one of them up in East Tennessee. And so I took a 3-hour drive up there by myself one day, checked it out during the day, and was telling Josh about it on the way home. And he was like, man, I wish you would have told me. I would have rolled with you. And so me and him went back up there about a week later, did the day thing again, and was talking about it on the way home. I was looking at their website and stuff, and I was like, hey, man, they allow investigations here. Let's get some people together and come back up here and do that. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And so about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, we gathered up some friends and went back up there. We was there for about 7 or 8 hours and didn't have no kind of equipment whatsoever. We had a digital recorder and an EMF detector, so we didn't really get to document anything, but we had so much stuff happening throughout the night. Everything from disembodied voices to hearing the cell doors slamming shut to having stuff thrown at us. Just so much stuff. We were like, man, this is crazy. And so on the way home, I got to talking to him. I was like, man, we've been talking about this since we were, little kids, teenagers, and, we're on the wrong side of 40. So if we're going to do this thing, we need to go ahead and do it now. And he's like, I agree with you. And so told him the name I had in mind, which is RKB Paranormal, and RKB is the initials of Keith. His name was Richard Keith Beller, so we wanted to use that to honor him and kind of still have him with us during our investigations. And so the next morning, I messaged my tattoo guy, had him design me a logo. I had a Facebook page up the same day, and we had our first official investigation about a month later. And we've been going strong for 3 years. Actually, 3 years yesterday, we started this team. So
happy anniversary!
That's cool.
That is an awesome story.
Congrats.
Truly.
Yeah, I hate to hear that. The death of your friend. That's horrible. But what a way to honor him. And
He'd
keep
be
his
so
memory.
proud,
Yeah,
too.
he would. Yeah, and that's awesome. You used his initials. That's cool. Because I was going to ask you what the RKB stood for, so you answered that. So 3 years yesterday. That is very cool. Now, is it just like who's on the official team? Is it just you and Josh still, or have you added other members to be an actual part of the team that as far as or do you just bring people along with you guys, or who's all on it?
So when we first started out, we had quite a few people. We had a couple of people that went with us to Brushy Mountain, and we had a few other friends that we added in. And before the first official investigation, it was a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff that was going on, and none of them was really wanting to participate. So me and Josh came to the decision we're just going to kick them all out. And this was about the time my now wife had joined the team. So for the longest time, it was 4 of us.
Okay.
So it was me and him and his now ex-wife and my current wife. So for the biggest portion, it was only 4 of us. And then throughout the last couple of years, we've added some members. So right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we're back up to about 8. So it's me and my wife, my wife's oldest son. He's almost 16. He's part of the team and goes when he can go. Of course, Josh and his now girlfriend is on part of the team. One of mine and Josh's longtime friends from elementary school is part of the team. And then another one of our good friends, he's a part of it. So like I said, it's about 7 or 8 of us right now. So
That is awesome.
So you got the 16-year-old. So did he like as growing up? Did he always like this type of stuff, or just as he's met you, and is it something kind of new to him, or I'm just wondering since he's the young one.
He had experiences growing up too, and my wife, his mom was always into the paranormal too. She had a bunch of experiences growing up and stuff, and she was always interested in it. And that was kind of one of the things that kind of drew us together whenever we first met. That was like our big common interest was the paranormal. And when he was younger, me and my wife's been together, almost 3 years now. So he was 13 when we got together, and he was like, oh, man, I want to go to a place with you guys. And I'm like, well, I was like, dude, a lot of these places you have to be 18. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's, insurance purposes, they usually don't let minors in. I was like, but as soon as I find a place that, allows younger people to come in, I was like, I'll take you along. And I eventually came across a place. They were doing a public event, place called Rosemont in Gallatin, Tennessee, and they were doing an all-ages event. And so I took him to it, and he absolutely loved it. And he's been on, I think, 3 other investigations with us. Like I said, he don't get to go that often, but whenever we can take him, we take him with us.
Sure. Yeah, I was say because he'd be maybe a sophomore or junior in high school.
Yeah, he'll be a junior.
Junior, yeah. Man, see, I would have loved to be able to do that back at 16 years old.
Definitely.
I like that stuff since I was a kid. But
it's funny how I know that it happened with us when we first went to our first locations and stuff. If you're into it, it just it grabs you. It's like a drug. You just want to keep going to these investigations.
Mm-hmm. Appropriately or inappropriately, it grabs you.
Right. That's true. It's like the game. I was telling somebody it's like the game of golf. Like either you're into it or you're not. But it's like when my dad and I would play. It's that like you'd be playing horrible, and then that one good shot, whether it was a putt or a drive, it brings you back. Well, in a different roundabout way. Like the paranormal, you might not have anything, but it's just that potential. You're at a creepy place. It's usually historical, and it's just that
adrenaline. It
does.
Yeah.
It's like and if you have something even minor, it just keeps bringing you back. And it gets addictive because, I wish we got obviously a late start, and I'm in my 50s. And
we're on the wrong side of 40 as well.
These youngsters are in the 40s, but. Man, I would have loved to have started, as a kid, but
Damion, we've talked about how some people play cards, some people golf, some people go out for beers. Although we can still do all that stuff, but that's what we enjoy doing is going to do investigations. We don't get to do it as often as we like, but it's a blast.
Mm-hmm. It is. But like Nate said, it's addictive, and we've been to I think 3 or 4 or 5 places, and in the last couple of years, so we're kind of getting there. But how many do you try to do as far as say like on a monthly basis? How many investigations do you try to schedule?
But we try to keep it to at least once a month. Sometimes maybe once every couple of months. But in the 3 years since we started, we've got probably roughly about 30 investigations under our belt.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Wow,
that's a lot. Yeah, for just doing it for 3. I mean, really, 3 years is a long time, but it's not that long. That's a lot of places. What I want to ask you too before we start kind of getting into the investigations and some of your stories. Do you guys as far as equipment and what is your style of investigating? Tell us, kind of what you use, if you use anything. Anybody on your team, is somebody designated to be the video person and the audio, or how does all that work?
Empaths,
Yeah, right. Do you have any empaths or people that kind of lean on that side of things as far as being, sensing what's going on?
Well, first off, we're a very respectful team. We're not one of these teams that go in and provoke and cuss the spirits out and stuff like that. We go in treating them like they're still alive and like they're right there in front of us.
Speaking our language.
There's been one location that the people told us, this is the only way you can get them to interact with you is if you're kind of a jerk going. Mm-hmm. And so that's the one and only time we actually kind of provoked, and it worked. I mean, we had stuff happening, but other than that, we're always going in respectful and stuff like that. As far as the equipment, I mean, we try to keep it as basic as possible. Camcorders, digital recorders, EMF detectors, they have a REM pod. That's probably my favorite piece, other than like a digital recorder, because you can get interaction with it. We have an SLS, even though it kind of gets a bad rap, and it does give off a lot of false positives. But we have captured some stuff that kind of left us scratching our heads. My wife, she's kind of a sensitive. She's been told she's a little bit of clairvoyant, a little bit of a medium, so she can kind of sense some stuff even before we get to a location. She's like, I think it's going to be an active night, or she can feel like somebody's standing right beside her that, of course, none of us can see or sense, but she's like, there's somebody right beside me. And Josh is kind of that way, too. He kind of taps into that stuff when we're in locations, so we kind of have a couple of sensitives on the team, too, so...
Coming off of what you were saying about your wife, is that something that she's recently discovered about herself, or is that something that she can go, oh, you know what, it's happened since I was a little kid or whatever?
She did say it's stuff that's kind of happened throughout her life, but she never really much thought about it. And really, me and her started dating, and then she kind of started more or less kind of accepting it, I guess you could say, and kind of getting more comfortable with it. And now, it's like an everyday thing with her, It'll just be like, oh, I think there's somebody standing here with me, and about that time something might happen, or, I'll get the cold chills or something. So I'm just like, it becomes second nature to her. So
I'm sensitive too. I wish I was. I'm more of a rock in the middle of the room. I wish I was sensitive.
Yeah.
You're sensitive to temperatures.
Yeah. I think that is such an added aspect to an investigative team. Like I said, Nate, Sean, and I have only been on a few, and I don't think we've had anybody we've been with Erin Egnatz. I know she can kind of have a little bit of...
Yeah, she has a little feel.
But have a little feel. But I think that'd be something other than the equipment. If, like I said, if a team uses equipment, some don't. I think that's a huge bonus to have somebody like that. And so to have her come along and be able to like you said, even have a feeling even before you get to the location, like, hey, I think it's going to be very active, or it kind of gives you a little bit of an edge how to prepare.
It's like a barometer, right?
Yeah, right.
A spookometer.
Right. Spookometer, yeah. Awesome. And it sounds like you have a lot of equipment. I'm pretty impressed. I'm like,
right.
That's very cool.
Well, we all, take more or less use the equipment. We have at least one camcorder for pretty much everybody on the team. Try to have at least one digital recorder with everybody. So that way we're always documenting, whether it be by video or audio. And we do the Estes method a lot too. We've had quite a bit of success with that too. So I really enjoy doing it. Josh loves doing it. My wife, she's only done it a couple of times, so she's she kind of gets overwhelmed, I think, whenever she does it, because she says, there's so many voices coming through, and I think she's hearing them not just through the spirit box and stuff, but I think she's hearing them beside her and stuff too. So she gets kind of overwhelmed at times with that. So she's only done it a couple of times.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about if she's being a sensitive and you're doing the Estes method, how that was going to be coming through to her. So yeah, her being overwhelmed, I can understand that, and that'd be a little bit intimidating. And did you? I looked at you earlier, Sean. Did you have a question?
I think that's interesting. I did kind of one of the looks of that is so interesting to me. I think it's I think a lot of people have gifts that they don't even tap into. So I think it's really cool that that your wife has that and that she can feel that. The other thing is that it's neat that she's pre-sensing. I like that she's already kind of tapping into. For me, I love to know about the history of the place and what the feel is like. So I find that fascinating. I really find that interesting.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys? I know a lot of investigative teams have different approaches as far as, especially sensitives. Some of them don't want to know anything about the place they're going to. They'll know the name, but that's about it. They don't want to know the backstory. And then some people, whether they're sensitive or just part of an investigative team, they want to know everything about it going in. So, do you guys have a certain approach, or do you just kind of maybe here and there as far as what you want to know ahead of time about a certain location?
It It honestly just kind of varies from investigation to investigation. Sometimes we go in completely blind, don't know anything but the name, and then when we get there, we're like, "Well, do you want to walk through?" And sometimes we'll tell them yes. Sometimes we're like, "No, we just want to see if what we can gather, correlates with other stuff that's happened here." So it just kind of depends.
Gotcha. Yeah, because hearing a lot of investigative teams on different shows. I know some have said, say like the lead investigator, that he or she wants to know, but if they bring in a sensitive, a lot of them say, nope, don't tell me anything. You guys can know about it, but I don't want to have a heads up, because they want to go in fresh, have zero knowledge of what's gone on and what the history is all about, what good or bad or all of it. So I was just curious to see like what your approach was. Go ahead.
Have you ever had an investigation where you guys had to leave? Is too much?
Yeah, there's never been one where we had to leave. There's been a couple after we were done. We were just like, what was really going on here? Like there was one location we went to. It was actually our son's second investigation. His first full investigation was just the team, and of all places, it was an old post office, but we didn't really think much of it. We just like, oh, cool, an old post office. And during our walkthrough, actually our son and one of our other investigators both got scratched on the neck. And then there at the end of the night, I was locked inside a vault in the complete darkness by myself, and I came out with 3 scratches on the back of my neck.
Oh, man.
Wow.
And the people that kind of, like, I guess, oversaw the investigations that gave us, like, our walkthrough and stuff, they're like, that's really weird. That's never happened here. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if it ever happened, then only one of us is going to get scratched. We're not going to leave with 3 people leaving with a total of 5 scratches. You can't tell me that's never happened here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty active.
Yeah.
So when they were giving us our walkthrough, the guy was telling most everything, and there would be certain times he would go to say something, and his wife would look over at him, kind of shake her head or clear her throat, like telling him, "Don't tell him that."
Interesting.
They weren't allowed to tell us certain things, so like the owners didn't want people to know, or if like they just didn't want to tell us. But as soon as they said it's free, we all were like in agreement, like they're hiding something, and it was a really weird place.
So that to me that's weird, and the reason I say that is if you've got a place that you're letting investigators come through to check out, or if you've got a place that you do even like tours, that's kind of part of it, like to hide certain things or not let people know, you know what I mean. Oh yeah, we've got activity, this is it goes to whatever 18 this and that, and this could happen, that could happen, but then you leave out some other thing. You might as well just let it all out and just give people a heads up. Or if if you haven't had anything but somebody says, oh my gosh, I got scratched, I've got 3 scratches, don't go, oh well, I was never like just say, oh wow, my gosh, yeah,
right?
Be transparent, just be genuine and honest, and I don't get that. I mean, you already have people coming in to check it out, and it's already got something, so why not just go with it, whatever it is, good, bad, and I don't understand that, why they would do that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me either.
Did the scratches happen in real? I mean, like as far as when you realized it, was it real time, or did you just at some point go, oh my gosh, I've got scratches? You know what I mean? Because some people feel it when it happens, or they realize it later on when it kind of settles and it maybe it's kind of raised, and I was just curious, when did you realize you got scratched?
Well, the first guy, our teammate Mark, like I said, it was during our walkthrough. He just kind of out of just random, he's like, man, my neck looks like it's burning. I was like, well, let me look, and I pulled out my phone and turned on my flashlight, and there was a scratch like all the way down the side of his neck. I was like, man, you got a big scratch on your neck. I was like, did you scratch yourself? He's like, no. He's like, my hands have been in my pocket the whole time. I was like, well, that's weird. And probably 10 minutes later, our son was like, yeah, he's like, my neck's kind of burning too. And then Mark checked his neck, and he seen the scratch like forming on his neck.
Wow.
And like I said, when it happened to me, like I said, I was locked inside this vault, and I was doing the Estes method, and it felt like my neck was burning, and it started kind of hurting. And then when it started hurting and stuff, I was like, all right, I'm done. And whenever they let me out, I told them what was going on with my neck, and they pulled their phone up and turned the light on. There was 3 little tiny scratches on the back of my neck. And then, we had, I don't have the video anymore because I lost a lot of my stuff because my laptop crashed. But there was like a 15-minute video of me in there, and I never once touched my neck. And I walked out with 3 scratches on the back of my neck.
It's crazy. That is
Man.
crazy. Yeah, we haven't had anything like that. I know Nate
That's intense.
has been Bobby Mackey's.
Yeah,
I every time I ask, I keep forgetting where you've been.
Yeah, it's Bobby Mackey's. I was standing just outside the
Was it the basement?
So
right?
yeah, the basement, so-called jail cell type thing, and yeah, something pinched the back of my leg.
But yeah, I don't think any of us, other than that, I haven't felt anything touch me or try to scratch me, and I don't think either. Sean.
No, but you guys try to blame me for doing it.
That's right. Sean's
I'm more of the tickler, but
so yeah, right. So let's get into some of the other investigations and some tell our listeners some of the places you guys have been and any certain stories from them would be great.
Well, we've been fortunate enough, I guess you could call it fortunate enough. Like I said, we've done roughly about 30 investigations, and we've only had maybe 3 or 4 dead nights where we didn't have nothing happening, didn't capture nothing on video, nothing on audio, which is completely dead. So we've gotten lucky pretty much everywhere we've gotten, whether we've just got audio or if we've captured video, or if it was just those personal experiences that we didn't capture. We've had those experiences pretty much everywhere we went. Other than that post office, some of our most active places have been Octagon Hall in Franklin, Kentucky, Hotel Metropolitan in Paducah, Kentucky. It was a pretty active place. Our most active location has been the historic Scott County Jail in Huntsville, Tennessee. And at that place, we actually captured our most profound piece of evidence so far to date. And that night it was just me and Josh. And of course, they had one of the ladies who oversee everything. She stayed on site because insurance purposes, all that fun stuff. So she was downstairs the entire night in her office. She's an investigator too, so she was editing video, had noise canceling headphones on all night. Didn't know anything that was going on. And so we're going through this jail, and we're having stuff happen in pretty much every room we walk into.
Wow.
But it always would happen right when we'd walk in before we start recording, or it would happen right when we're walking out after we've done stop recording because we're switching locations. So it was kind of toying with us all night long. And at the end of the night, we decided, we've hit every area up. It's let's finish the night on the second floor in the kitchen. And we're in the kitchen. We have the door closed, and Josh is saying some stuff you guys have been doing this stuff all night long. You've been kind of messing with us, but we want you to show us that you're really here. Really show us something. And about that time, our REM pod starts going off. We have an EDI box that starts kind of fluctuating and kind of going nuts. And about that time, we both hear what sounds like a female from the hallway saying, "Help." It was loud enough that we both heard it over the devices beeping. And, I pick up my camera, I walk over to the door, and I open the door, and I'm like, "Hello?" And about that time, there's a picture on the wall that comes flying off the wall and does a flip in midair and lands about 4 feet away. And of course, it scares me, and I'm, dropping some choice language because it's, and when we finally calm down, we review it right then to see if we even captured it. Because I wasn't looking at my camera when I walked out. I was looking out in the hallway. So I didn't know if my camera was even on, if it was pointing at the ground, where it was pointing at. And sure enough, we captured the entire thing. And, we went downstairs and got Miranda, brought her upstairs. We're you got to watch this. And she couldn't figure it out. We tried to debunk it for about 20 minutes. And that's something we always like to do before we just throw it out there saying it's paranormal. We try to make sure there's no logical explanation that we can come up with before we throw it out there and present it to people. And all 3 of us tried for 20 minutes, try to debunk it. Her and her partner came in the next morning and tried for an hour to debunk it. I couldn't figure it out. And I'd send her the video because she's like, send me that video. I want to break it down and look at it closer. And in this video, when I walk out into the hall, you can see this white anomaly comes down and goes to the right. You see a black shadow figure dart across the screen, and then right when that picture goes flying, it looks like a shadow arm comes out from behind the wall and just slaps this picture off the wall. Ooh. All that happened with the devices going off and the woman saying help, and all that happened in about 45 seconds, and we captured every bit of it.
That is, yeah. If you've got that type of reaction, and you're able to capture it, that's awesome. With your equipment, you heard it in real time.
That's freaking awesome. Really freaky and awesome.
Yeah. Were you? I don't know. First of all, we respect that you try to debunk things. Maybe come up with alternative reasons of what happened or why it happened. You know, what caused it. A lot of them don't. And I'm not going to dog any investigation or investigative team for not doing that, but I think that is going, the extra mile just to say, hey, before we're going to say this is what it is or put it out there, I think that's a legitimate way to do things as far as investigating, and is to just to see, okay, could it be this, could it be that? Not, maybe it's not the paranormal or the supernatural causing it. But other than that, like, were you? I don't know if I would be scared. I don't know. I think I'd be either in awe.
I think I'd be terrified.
You think you'd be? Sean would be terrified. I don't know. Because that's kind of like what you want, But then again, be careful what you ask for. I don't know.
First, when it actually happened, it scared the crap out of me. But after I backed up and we put the camera off, we were both had so much adrenaline and we're so hyped up. Like the flipper was done, like out the door. Like we were super excited. We're like, we've been doing this for over a year. We haven't really captured anything good. Did we just capture something? Did we just really experience this? And what makes this even a little bit more interesting is earlier in the night, that same picture had fallen off the wall. We were in the room next to the kitchen, and we captured audio of it falling, but we didn't actually see it happen. And so when we heard it fall, we walked out there and we're like, oh, that's weird. This picture fell off the wall. And, went downstairs, got Miranda. We're like, hey, is this picture ever fallen? She's like, no, it's, never fallen since we hung it up. And at this time, this location had only been up maybe a month. Had only been open to the public for about a month. And they had all these pictures hanging up throughout the jail with like these like industrial strength like Velcro strips, because it's built out of concrete blocks and everything. So they didn't want to drill into the walls and stuff like that. So they had them hanging up. They had 4 or 5 strips on each picture. And it took some effort to get it off the wall, because when it fell that first time, we hung it back up and tried to pull it off, and it took a little bit of effort to pull it off. Mm-hmm. So, we pulled it off and tried to get it to land where it did, and every time we would let it go, it would just fall straight down. And we just kind of chalked it up to, maybe somebody was here during the day, because they allow stuff. I was like, maybe somebody was here during the day. They were messing with the picture. Maybe it wasn't fully stuck on the wall, and it just slowly fell off. So we just kind of tossed that out. Right. But then when we actually witnessed it happen, and it flies through the air and does a flip and lands 4.5 feet away, then we got to thinking after the fact, well, maybe that's what happened the first time. Because it was, when it fell off the first time, it was probably landed about 3 feet from where it was hanging on the wall. And so it was just one of those things that, it was crazy when we heard it. When we actually seen it happen, it just blew our minds.
Well, the flip that kind of sells it for me. It's not, a picture's just not going to do a flip. I mean, it can fall off the wall. It can even, and it's going to bounce or do whatever. But if it flips, I think that's something that you can't explain.
Exactly.
Yeah. What other places have you been? And give us some more good stories.
Another good place we went to. We went up to the Hotel Metropolitan in Paducah, Kentucky. It's kind of like a little bed and breakfast type thing, but it's also like a living history museum. It was built back in 1909 by an African American lady, and she built it simply for African American people because back then everything was segregated. Mm-hmm. Whites couldn't stay where blacks were, blacks couldn't stay where whites were. So she built it specifically for black travelers and stuff. And word got out about this great new hotel that just opened up, and it's really not a hotel. It's more of a small house. I think it has like 6 or 7 bedrooms upstairs, so it's more of like a bed and breakfast, really. But back then, it was probably a magnificent hotel. Like I said, word got out, and all these different entertainers started staying there. You know, B.B. King stayed there, Ray Charles stayed there, Tina Turner stayed there, some of the Harlem Globetrotters, just all these well-known people from back in the day would stay there. And so me and my wife decided to go up a day early before the investigation because we just kind of wanted the night to ourselves. And we get there, the owner just around kind of tells us some of the history, tells us some of the spooky stuff, and she gives us the key and she leaves us there. And we're like, okay, cool. And, you know, the bed and breakfast, we figured somebody would at least stay on the property or something, but, you know, nobody stayed. And while the owner was giving us her walkthrough, we walked into the kitchen, and right when we got into the kitchen, there was this door on the side that popped open. It was a bathroom door. And she was like, oh, that happens all the time. She goes, that's why I don't like being in here at night, because all this stuff happens. I just don't like being in here at nighttime. And so when she left, me and my wife immediately went to that door, tried to figure out why it opened. You know, maybe it was partially closed, maybe vibration caused it open. We couldn't get it to open. You know, we kind of banged on the wall, jumped up and down in front of it. We couldn't get it to open. So fast forward to the next night, we have he's now a former team member, but he came up and, you know, he investigated with us. It was just us three there all night long. And at one point we were kind of taking a break. He was walking into the kitchen to get something to drink, and we heard him scream, and we came, you know, took off running. What just happened? He's like, man, that door just opened. That same door had opened on him, like right when he walked past it. And probably about an hour later, he's back in there getting him something to drink. Me and my wife's in the room, trying to, I think we were using a EMF detector or something, just trying to see if we could get any spikes. And we hear him asking for the door to open. And after he asked, he screams out again, and it opened like when he asked it to open.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so after that, we probably spent 25 minutes, and it's on our video on our YouTube page. The last 20 minutes of this video is just us videoing this door trying to get it to open. And so, of course, we weren't able to capture it, but that was a personal experience for him. But I think this location we captured it's the clearest EVP we've ever caught. It was captured at this location, and it's actually captured on our camcorder. I don't even think it had a recorder going. But we was upstairs. I was in the middle of the hallway. I was set up doing the Estes method. My wife and Ted were probably about 15 feet behind me asking all the questions and stuff. And at one point, I feel something kind of like poking me on the arm. And I call out, I was like, hey, something's touching my arm. And about 30 seconds later, it kind of starts rubbing me on the arm. And I was like, hey, it's touching me again. And that my whole left arm gets freezing cold. And in the video, probably about a minute after that, you can hear Ted say, are you Pop? And then you hear my wife kind of whisper, who's Pop? And then right at the camera, it comes through and says, that's not my name. And it was clear as day. Like there was no static in it. There was no, is this what it said? It was clear as day. That's not my name. And I was upset at myself after the fact, because when I was reviewing everything, I forgot to turn the night vision on. So all you see in this video is the red glowing exit sign. So I was beating myself up because I was like, man, who knows what we might have seen, you know, especially coming out of that room that was touching me, if I would have had the night vision on. But we captured that EVP, so that kind of made up for it. But that was a super clear EVP.
Wow. As far as your wife being the sensitive, did she have any information to give about it, or was that something that, you know, I don't know when you guys go places if she has, you know, it just depends on the place probably, but did she have anything to add to it? Like, yep, this is the person, or this is who it is, or what it is, anything like that? That you can remember?
She didn't really pick up on anything during the investigation the night before. You know, me and her, we got to whatever room we stayed in, and I slept all night long. I don't even think I woke up But we started with the door closed, and it just kept getting warm in there, and she kept making me get up and open the door more and more, and finally the door was wide open. And like I said, I slept all night, and she was telling me about it the next morning. She goes, there was multiple times throughout the night. She goes, I look over at the door, and it just seemed like there was somebody there staring at us.
Ooh.
She's like, not like in a bad way, like creeping on us or anything, just people there just kind of checking us out. It's like, who are these people in our room, you know? And she goes, I felt that several times throughout the night. She goes, I was waiting to look over and actually see somebody standing there. She goes, but I never did. She goes, I sensed that almost the entire night.
Like a watcher.
Yeah. Like I said, this place was, you know, built for African Americans, and here are these two, you know, white people sleeping in there. They're probably two people in our building, you know, and that it was just, and we had probably our best SLS capture at this location too. And like I said, the SLS gets a bad rap because it gives off a lot of false positives. But this night, when we started our investigation, it was dead for probably the first 45 minutes to an hour. Like nothing was happening. And I'm like, man, let's just play some music. Let's play some music of the people who stayed here, see if that'll stir up anything. And I turned on a BB King song, and my wife has the SLS focused in the dining room, and this song comes on, and these two figures map in. It's a tall one and like a short one, like it's a man and a child standing there. And they both look like they're dancing to the music. And I was like, that's strange. I was like, let's see what happens when we turn the music off. Shut the music off. They both disappear like right when the music stops. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I was like, let's play another song. Let's play a little bit more upbeat song. I think we turned on like a Ray Charles or a Little Richard or something. And as soon as the music comes on, they both pop back up. Tall one, short one, both looks like they're dancing to music. Looks like the little kid's just kind of breaking it down. It looks like the man, the taller one, is like tapping his foot to the music. So when the music shuts off, they both disappear. And I was like, well, surely it's got to be something over there. It's thinking it is a person. And it was, where we had it facing was just an empty doorway. And like I said, they both mapped in both times the music came on, both disappeared when the music turned off.
Isn't that wild? That's just like residual. It's so interesting to think about what's going on there. You know, is it something energy that's stuck, or you know, something, or a happy period or a happy time? You know, for that energy or the ghosts. I mean, it's just, you know, I want to know what's going on there. I think that's so interesting.
Well, I think it might be. It sounds intelligent, not residual.
Yeah,
because it's reacting to the.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah,
reacting to the music,
right?
Where it's intelligent to know. Oh, they're playing music. And they're reacting. Yeah, and if they're doing like a dance. Is that something they kind of told you to do, or was that just an idea? You're like, hey, I wonder if music would stir up some.
Just stuff. Like I said, nothing was happening. You know, we weren't hearing any knocks. We weren't hearing no floorboards creaking, no whispers. Like nothing was happening. And I was just like, let's try some music. Let's see what happens. Yeah. And once we started playing that music, that kicked up the night. It was full on active the rest of the night.
Man,
yeah, intelligent makes sense. And
it was just an idea. I was thinking, well, gosh, didn't do anything until you started playing music. So
found out the next morning. The owner came back the next morning, and we were kind of telling her some stuff that went on, and we told her about the door in the kitchen again. And she goes, the only thing I can think of maybe in this kitchen, she goes, years ago, a man murdered his brother in this kitchen.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, I was like, well, that kind of would have been nice to know ahead of time. So, maybe try to figure out if that's who's been just opening this door every 5 seconds, but, and she told us we were welcome back anytime. So, that's definitely a place we plan on going back to at some point.
I bet. What, tell us the name of it again, please.
It's called the Hotel Metropolitan.
And it's in, where's it at again? Gosh, I can't remember. Paducah?
Paducah, Kentucky, yep.
Yeah. Check that out. Just lost my train of thought. Real quick, before we get into more stories, remind us, what the SLS camera is that the one that shows like the heat, or is it the stick figures? Is it one of the two, or is it something totally different?
It maps into little stick figures.
Yes, yeah. Okay, I knew it had to be one of the two. Okay, yeah, I had written my notes. I'm like, it's either the heat or the stick figures. Yeah, I think not too long ago we had somebody on our show and they were saying the same thing about the.
We've watched some of those videos too. And some of the places we've looked at and thought, man, it is. That's very creepy.
I think that's consistent though with the SLS where, you take, I don't know, it's not the most accurate. So your opinion on it, we've heard before, yeah, and in watching videos and all that of different investigations, I think everybody kind of has that idea of what you kind of take it for. You might want to use it, but don't really buy into it fully. What other places have you been to?
I want to know about Brushy.
Brushy, oh man, like I said, that's what. That location is what eventually just set us off down this path. Just during our walkthrough, like I said, we didn't really know much about investigating then other than what we would kind of do as teenagers and what we've seen on TV. So we didn't really know what we were doing. So, they're giving us our walkthrough and stuff, and the tour guides are in front of us, and there's absolutely nobody behind us. And, we're hearing people talking behind us. And we're all turning around, and they're like, yeah, that happens a lot. You hear people talking, there's nobody there. So we witnessed, we had that happen just during our walkthrough. And we started out, it was 6 of us. It was 3 guys, 3 girls. We all started out together, and we eventually just drifted apart. The guys went in one direction, the girls went in another. And they had one cell kind of set up. They had like a table and chair, and they had a checkered board in there. And I was like, hey, let's move some of these checkers around and then come back in a little bit and see if they've been moved back. And, we moved some of them around, took a picture of it, to document that we moved them. And we came back probably about 45 minutes later, and those pieces were back where they originally were. And I was like, well, that's weird. I was like, surely the girls had come up here and, put them back. Eventually we met up with them, and I was like, hey, have y'all been up in these cells that has the checkerboard? And they're like, no, we've been down in this area this whole time. We're like, y'all didn't go up there and mess with the checkerboard. They're like, no, I swear we didn't mess with it. And so were they messing with us? I don't know, but we know that we moved them, and when we came back, they were moved back on the board. We moved them off the board, and so that was one of those things we weren't really sure about, but if it actually happened, it was really cool.
Sure, yeah.
At one point, me and Josh kind of separated from the group, and we were out, and I think it was the D block cell. And we did have some dowsing rods. The tour guides let us use some dowsing rods. We never even heard of dowsing rods until that night. And Josh has a lot of luck with them, but he's using these dowsing rods. And every time I'd ask a question, they would turn one way, and then they would pretty much point wherever I was standing at. And we eventually asked, he goes, do you just not like Damion? And then right after he asked that question, it sounds like something was thrown at us, because we hear something sounds like a little rock just crashed behind us.
Oh, man.
And I did capture that on audio. I think that was the only thing I captured on audio. Then kind of to end the night, like I said, Josh is still using the dowsing rods, and he's just asking all these different yes and no questions. Yes, if it's yes, open the rods. If it's no, cross them. And we're just kind of walking through the courtyard, and every time he asks a question, I just seem to get more and more angry. And I have no idea why I'm getting mad. And we eventually make our way into the gymnasium, and same thing. Every time he asks a question, I'm just getting super mad. And he finally asked another question, and I throw my hands up, and I'm like, screw this, I'm done. And I storm across the courtyard mad as a hornet, just storm off, get past the rest of our crew, get about 5 feet away from them, and that anger turns to sadness, and I break down, and I'm crying tears. And Josh was like, man, what's going on? I was like, I have no idea. I was like, I don't know what happened. And about 30 seconds of crying, it lifted, and I was perfectly fine. And I was using, the recorder this entire time. And so a couple of days later, I'm listening to everything and started kind of making sense why I was getting these emotions coming through. It seemed like he was interacting with this black guy who was in prison simply because of the color of his skin. But he didn't, whatever crime he was put in there for, like he was completely innocent. And so I was feeling his anger for being put in there. And then I eventually felt his sadness because he eventually passed away there, spent his whole life there, all because of the color of his skin. And that's what I could kind of gather from the questions he was asking, the answers he was receiving, and what I was feeling. And I'd never been affected with anything like that before, and I hadn't been affected since up until, I think, January of this year when we was at a location. But it was wild.
Well, I was going to ask you, had you not had that type of occurrence before, as far as getting that emotional, or whether you're angry or sad? Yeah, that's not typical, right? Is what you're saying.
No, first time it ever happened was there, and like I said, it didn't happen again for 2.5 years. It happened back in January at a location we were at. I didn't feel the anger, but I felt this sudden sadness and just started bawling and didn't want to leave the room I was in. Like I had to be, Josh more or less had to pick me up and tote me out of the room because I did not want to leave the room.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like something getting a hold of you.
Yeah. Speaking through you, or putting his emotion on you. I didn't mean to say his emotion on you, and that would be a little overwhelming. I think a little scary too. Just even not as scared, like oh my gosh, you're frightened, but just like you said, you're like Josh is going, what's wrong, dude? why are you acting like this? And you're like, I have no idea. That would be a little bit unnerving.
It's overwhelming, I would say.
Especially when you don't usually react that way when you go to locations, and all of a sudden you're like ticked off 1 minute, and then the next you're sad. That's a lot.
Become like a conduit too. We've talked about that for people like having those responses to the spiritual energy. So yeah, I've never had that before either. So I think that would be interesting.
Just think if you were by yourself and you're experiencing that, at least you had your friend to kind of grab you and kind of check
pull
on
you out of it.
Yeah, pull you out of it, exactly. And then like, what's going on? Help you through it instead of just because our friend Erin, she goes on a lot of investigations by herself to these places, and we're like, how do you do that? And she goes to a lot of intense places, and I'm just glad you had your buddy with you.
Yeah, it's definitely intense.
No doubt. Sean, I know you've got something
I wanted
ask.
to know about. Did you captured a lady in white? Didn't you have a full body apparition that I'd heard about?
I didn't capture anything. This was years ago before I ever had a team. This house we lived in, this was after my first marriage ended. I ended up moving back in with my mom for a little bit, and we all lived in this house. It was, my mom, my stepdad, myself, my two younger stepbrothers, my sister, her husband, their kids. There was like 9 or 10 of us living in this house, right? And like just all this crazy stuff would go on there. Like nothing to the point where like, oh my God, we got to move. Just stuff that would leave you kind of scratching your head and trying to figure out what it was. And like I said, this was before I ever had my team and all this other stuff. But there was one night, we always, when we went to leave, we'd always go through the basement door because the basement led right to the driveway. So we always just left through the basement. So I'm going to leave one night. It's like 9:30 at night. And I go to walk out the door, and I just happen to look up, and I see this woman out in the yard just standing there. And, she's like, I don't know if she was just in a nightgown or if she was in a dress, but she was in all white, and she had like long white hair. And I'm like, who is that? And, I stood there and probably stare at her for probably a good 10 or 15 seconds just trying to figure out who's in our yard. And in the split second that the screen door passes my eyes, when I'm opening the screen door, she's gone. I'm like, what in the world? And the way this house is set up, from the driveway, there's some stairs that go up the little small hill to the front yard and leads around to the front door. My two brothers was out there sitting on the steps, and I was like, hey man, who was just in the yard? I was like, was Brittany just out here, my sister? They're like, no, there's nobody out here. We've been sitting out here for about 45 minutes. It's only been us. I was like, man, I know. I've just seen this woman in the yard. And they're like, man, there's nobody out here. And they're like, where was she at? And I was like, he was over by the black tree. There was a tree in the yard that was a big chunk of it, a big portion of it was charred. Like, I don't know if it was struck by lightning or if somebody set fire to it or what, but it was a big part of it that was charred black. I was like, man, she was over by the black tree. And they're like, man, we haven't seen nobody out here. And so a couple nights later, walking out the same door, I'm walking the girl that I was dating at the time. I was walking her out to her car, and she just stops before she ever opens the door. I'm like, what are you doing? She's not saying nothing. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she finally kind of snaps out. I was like, what are you doing? She's like, there's a woman in the yard. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, there is a woman in your yard right now. I'm like, well, what does she look like? And she described the exact same thing, standing in the exact same location. And I hadn't told her about it because I didn't want her to freak out and not come back over. And I was like, kind of didn't want to tell you this, but I'd seen the exact same thing you're describing 2 nights ago. And her eyes got real big, and she's like, are you kidding? I was like, no. I asked, Peyton and Preston, they were out here. And, of course, she ran to her car, and I don't think she ever came back at night after that. But, yeah, that place was wild.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
Yeah, I guess. I think it'd be interesting to come back.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Do you have any idea who it could be? What did you kind of delve into the history of the house or the location and say, oh, it could be this? Or did you ask any neighbors if they've seen anything?
There wasn't really any neighbors. Like, the closest neighbors was probably half a mile down the road.
Oh, gotcha.
But like I said, back then I didn't really know much about researching places like this because I didn't really know that was I knew about research, but I didn't know how to go about researching places like that. So I just kind of chalked it up. The house was haunted. But we do know that there was 2 headstones in the side yard. And you can make out one of the names. It was like clear as day. It was, I remember what his name was now, but he was a lieutenant or something. And it said he had died in like the late 1800s. I'm assuming he was like probably a Civil War soldier is what I would guess. And there was a little smaller headstone beside it that said baby and then like a name underneath that. So we're assuming that was an infant or a child. And what's crazy about that is, like I said, my sister lived there at the time too. And so my nephew was living there. And at the time he was about 3, maybe 4 years old. And there was one night she'd always have to lay in bed with him until he fell asleep because he was scared to sleep by himself. And so I'm in the living room watching TV, and she's texting me. She goes, Braden's in here talking to the closet door. Like, the closet door was open. She's like, he's in here talking to the closet. I was like, what do you mean he's talking to us? She goes, he's in there just having a full-blown conversation. And she goes, I asked him who he was talking to, and he goes, I'm talking to the man. She goes, what man? She goes, the man, he's in there, he's covered in blood.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Well, this kid's 3, 4 years old. He's not going to, like, just randomly think of something like that.
Yeah.
So a little while later, like a few days later, my sister was telling me her and my mom were sitting at the kitchen table. Now, this is the middle of the day. So my nephew comes walking through, opens the back door, opens the screen door, says, hey, y'all come on in, closes the doors, walks back to the back rooms, comes back out 20 minutes later, opens the doors, and said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And of course, they ask, who are you talking to? And he goes, I'm talking to the soldier man and his little boy. And I'm like, holy crap. I was like, there's a soldier and a little boy buried, or a little kid buried in the side yard.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So that, like I said, that place was that's the only history I knew about it. It was those 2 people buried there. And I tried researching the guy's name, and I could never find anything. But back then I wasn't very good at research. So,
Damion, I have to tell you about the lady in white or cream that you were talking about. My wife, back in March, my dad passed away in the middle of the month, and he had end-stage Alzheimer's. And my wife and I were, before we put him on hospice, we were up at my mom's, is about 20 minutes away from our house, and we were coming back from their house, and my wife was driving. It was in my car, and we were kind of going down country roads, and she and I were talking, and we went around this curve. It was not a real well lit road, or back road, and she freaked out because she's like, "Oh my gosh, who's that walking?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I don't see anybody." And she's trying to tell me that there was some woman in white or a white dress walking along the road that she almost hit. And I was like, "I did not see anything, honey." And I looked back, and I told her, I'm like, "Well, let's go back and find her." And she said, like, the hair on the back of her neck was standing up. She's like, "I'm not going back." So she's trying to figure out who would be walking. And I was like, "Honey, you just saw a lady in white." And she goes, "Actually, it was like a cream color." And so we kind of talked about it a little bit. And it's funny because during that time, with my dad, getting ready to pass and everything, she was talking about how she missed her grandmother, who had been dead for quite a while, and I never got to meet her. And she said, "I always wanted my mom or my grandmother to come back to me." And so I got to thinking by the next day, I told her, I said, "Maybe that was your grandma. How do you know that wasn't your grandma trying to send you a sign that you were just talking about?" And she's like, "Maybe that was my grandma." Well, a couple days later, maybe later in the week, we sat down and had dinner with her parents, and I was telling this story. I said, "Did you tell your parents about seeing your grandma?" And they were like, "What's this?" And so we told that whole thing, and then she corrected me saying, well, it was like a cream colored dress, and my wife's mother said, "Jenna, don't you remember what we buried your grandmother in? It was a cream nightgown. It was her favorite nightgown." She goes, "That was your grandmother." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, we did." Her grandfather wanted to bury her like a proper dress. And my wife at the time said, "No, she's going to be comfortable in her cream nightgown." And my wife said, "I had forgotten completely about that." She's like, "Oh my God, that was grandma." So she had this thing that I didn't see it. I was like, you'd think that we'd see somebody walking along, but it freaked her out. And it just seemed like it was just meant for her,
Right. That's crazy. And something else that I don't know if it's connected or not to the lady in white. The very first experience I remember as a young kid, I was probably 3 years old, and I'd woken up in the middle of the night. I was sleeping on the couch this night for whatever reason, and I remember waking up. And of course, it's dark in the living room, maybe some light shining through the window or whatever. But I wake up and, I'm on my back I wake up face up at the ceiling. And there's but I've always described it as like a witch figure floating above me. Like, not like your typical witch with the pointy black hat, but that's what it reminded me of, was a witch. And of course, being 3 years old, it spooked me, and I pulled the covers up over my head, and when I brought them back down, she was still just kind of floating there. And I quickly pulled them up again, and when I pulled them down the second time, she had disappeared. And, of course, my parents told me I was just having a bad dream, this or that. And the very first interview I did, after we started our team back in January of 2021, I was telling that story about the woman floating above me, and I told her about the woman I seen in white. And one of the hosts, she was like, "What if that's the same person? And they're just kind of following you around?" Because at the house that I seen the woman in, there were several times I heard a female whisper my name in my ear. Like, I would be about almost asleep, and it would I would have earbuds in, and I would hear it over my music, like somebody was right in my ear whispering my name, and it was that of a female. And she's like, "What if the two are connected somehow?"
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I never really put two and two together. I was like, well, that is kind of weird to think about. So, I don't know.
It's possible, for sure.
I may never know, but it's always stuck with me. And if that was a dream, it was the most vivid dream I've ever had, because I've remembered that for 35 years now.
I think there is something to it. Oh, sorry, that's my phone. Calendar.
Ding dong.
Yeah, I think Damion, I think there is something to that. I mean, yeah, you may never know 100%, but I mean to say it there isn't, you can't say that. So might as well say, yeah, it's connected. I don't know.
You've sold us.
Yeah, you've sold us. I mean, gosh, that's a lot there. That's a great story. What real quick, like the lady in white though, could you tell? You said white hair. Was it are you saying white hair meaning like a old lady white hair, or you mean just like a kind of glowy white ghost hair? I'm just trying to figure out Maybe
It
age
was,
or
was white hair. It was like white and stringy, like she had just got out of the shower and
Oh.
her hair was white. But I could tell it was a younger woman.
okay.
But I really couldn't make out facial features. But I could tell she didn't like have any wrinkles or anything like that. Like if she looked, it even felt like a younger woman.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
So yeah, so like, okay.
So I don't know if she was connected to that tree because, you know, like I said, it looked like that tree had been burnt. And I never could figure it out. And I've always wanted to go back to that house and just knock on the door and just talk to the people that live there now.
Yeah.
They would probably look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, you could try it. I mean, all they could say is nope, no, thank you. But maybe they will. You never know. Some people might be open to that.
Yeah.
You know, I get it though. Yeah, you might. You know, you're like, oh boy, you don't want to have somebody think you're crazy. But you know what? Who cares? If you know, maybe they do, maybe they don't. So you'll never know until you try.
One way to get validation, right?
That's right. That would be interesting.
Correct.
Yeah, to know. Yeah, have you seen anything? We're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. I have one question. I know Sean has one, and then we'll finish up. But I want to know what is your favorite horror movie? What is your favorite scary movie, if you have one?
My favorite scary movie, my favorite horror movie of all time is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3.
Oh,
That's a good one.
now what is it about Part 3? Because I haven't really seen any of them. I've seen parts of the first one, but I've not seen anything past that. So what is it about Part 3 that makes it your favorite?
You know, I really don't know. It was just because I loved all of them with the exception of Part 2. I never really cared much for Part 2. But it was just, that one just always stuck out to me. Like, I felt like the story was, I guess, a little bit more creepy. Because they were, like, in a hospital, and I don't know, it just felt more creepy than the other ones. And, of course, after the third one, they started getting kind of more funny and more punchlines and stuff. So that one was, like, the last one. You know, it still had, like, its little funny lines, but they weren't meant to be funny.
Right.
After that, they started adding like more comedy stuff to it. But you know, that one's always been my favorite. You know, I love horror movies. I've got Jason, Freddy, and Ghostface tattooed on my arm, so I've always been a big fan. So,
Okay, so yeah, I thought 3 was the Dream Warriors one. Yeah.
I was wondering because
I love that one because I love the Dawkins song.
Yeah, I love the video. I'd watch it over and over on MTV's Top 20. That was the summer of it. Yeah. Like, what is it, 86, 87?
the song was actually playing on my playlist on the way home today.
Nice,
That's
nice. Cool. Yeah, yeah. I love that that as well. And I remember that video. And I heard, actually, what's funny is I heard the song. I hadn't heard it in 30 some years, and I heard it about, well, let's see, it was before vacation. That was 2 weeks ago. So yeah, probably maybe about a month ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's taking me back to my, I think, sophomore year in high school. So that's a great song. Yeah.
87.
87. Yep. That was my sophomore year. That's right. Very cool. Yeah. I was just curious because and I've heard that about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, that as they go, the more the ones that they've made, the later ones, that's been more comedy. And a lot of people that like the first 2 or 3, they kind of bail on the later ones as far as even mentioning them, because they're like, well, they turn into comedies, not horror movies. So that's what I've heard, but I haven't seen them. So, you real quick, you said you had what tattoos again? You said you had what characters?
I've got Freddy, and I've got Ghostface, and I've got my Ghostbuster tattoos as well.
Gotcha. I've got Michael Myers. That's my the original Halloween's my favorite movie, horror movie of all time, and of course Michael's my favorite horror character, and I've got him on my left shoulder. I'm working on my tattoo artist that's done all 25 of them. She is so booked up, and I'm like, man, I can't wait till November. So I've been trying to reach out to other tattoo artists, and it's being a little more difficult than I expected, but regardless, whoever does them, I want to get, as far as horror characters, I still want to get, I want to get Pennywise, and I want to get the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. So, yeah, so I've had people. Oh, go ahead.
Next, like, I went back and forth. Like, I want to get Leatherface, but also want to get Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I want to get the Creeper. I keep telling my wife I'm going to get Annabelle because all the kids are scared of Annabelle. So.
Oh, those are great movies, by the way. My wife and I love those Annabelle movies. And they are creepy. Sean, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I want to know about your podcast. I know it's called Life Beyond 6 Feet, and I know you're the co-host. It's been three. You're in the third season.
Yeah, we just dropped episode 1 of season 3 on Sunday.
Nice. Congratulations.
And I never even thought about podcasting, and I never even listened to a podcast up until, me and Josh was interviewed for our first one, like I said, back in 2021. And after that podcast, I was thinking, that'd be something kind of cool to do just to kind of kill some time, like on our days off and stuff, I was like, I don't know what we would do, what we'd talk about, who we'd talk to. I was like, but it'd be something cool to do. And he's like, yeah, we should do that. And that was kind of it. We just kind of talked about it for a second, and that was it. And then, we did our second interview on a podcast about 9 months later, actually the very next day after we captured the picture flying off the wall. So we had a crazy story to tell. And after that, I was like, I really want to do a podcast. I was like, just interviewing for them was fun. I was like, so actually being the interviewer, that'd be really cool. And like I said, we just kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And I told him, I was like, man, if we ever start this, it's like, I have a name. And the name came from when we actually first started our team. I had this weird idea that I wanted the team to have like a tagline. And so I had all the team members come up with a tagline, and I was going to put it out on Facebook, and I was going to let people vote on what they liked the best. And Life Beyond 6 Feet was one of them. That was actually the one that won, but we never used it for anything. But I told Josh, I was like, we have to use this for something at some point. I was like, it's too cool. And I was like, that's a perfect name for the podcast. And got to talking about it again, and talked to a few different people that host podcasts, seeing kind of how they do theirs. And the second podcast we did, I reached out to him. Me and him's pretty good friends now. I was like, now, how did you start doing yours? And he's like, man, I used to do it by Zoom. He's like, that was the easiest way I found. And, I've done different stuff now, but that's how I started out. I was like, well, I'll try that. And so I downloaded Zoom on my laptop, signed up for it. And that guy that told me that, he was actually my very first guest. Like, it was a spur of the moment thing. Like, I recorded it, and I put it out like a week later. And all I do, I don't edit anything else. So, like, whatever we talk about, if we get off subject, if there's a blooper, it all stays in. All I do is throw on the music. And like I said, we just dropped episode 1 of season 3. I've had multiple guests on from like TV shows and stuff. I've had local investigators on from here right in Middle Tennessee. I've had investigators from Michigan, from Florida, from all over. I've had different podcasters on. I've had I know you guys know her, Kristen Amanda, the Paranormal Girl.
Yeah.
I've had Jordan Klein from Fireside Paranormal Podcast on, and they were both on my season 2 finale. I do on each finale of the seasons, like each last episode of each season, I do like a paranormal roundtable, and I bring on 4 past guests, and I just do like a kind of debate type thing, kind of get everybody's like opinions on these different things. And they were on my season 2 finale, and it's been really fun. So.
Well, I just followed today, so I'm excited to listen. I think, and I like the way you have an homage, it looks like, to Keith as well, with the police background. I like that.
Yeah.
Right. And because everybody, that knows about the team, they kind of know the backstory of the team. And I'd reached out to this guy I've known for a very long time. He used to actually date my ex-stepsister, if that makes sense. And he's like a real good artist. And I reached out to him about designing the podcast logo. And he was like, man, I don't think I could do it justice. He's like, but let me give you somebody who I think could do really good. And I reached out to her, and I kind of gave her some info about the team and the name of the podcast, and that's what she came up with. And she was like, is that good? And I was like, yeah, that's freaking awesome. So.
Yeah, it's funny how things just sort of happen in a certain way, and it ends up being perfect.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now, and it's awesome looking. It's very cool. I love the red and the blue lights, and you've got the image in the middle. Very colorful but creepy at the same time.
And now that we know,
and I followed your show, by the way.
backstory, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and knowing why you have that is, it's pretty cool. Very nice of you. I'll definitely check out your podcast, and when we drop this episode, Damion, because we're a week ahead still, which we're proud of, but we're going to drop this. It'll be next Wednesday, and so hopefully, our listeners will latch onto your show, and maybe you'll gain some more listeners, and just keep it going. I'm definitely going to check it out starting tomorrow when I go to work, because I listen to podcasts all day long. I work, my full-time job during the day, throw my AirPods in, and then I own a cleaning business, and so nights and weekends, that's pretty much what I do while I'm working is listen to podcasts. So it's nice to have a new one, and then obviously, you're a friend of the show now, so we'll always show support to our friends.
Well, my show too, so.
Let's do this. Let's wrap it up. But I want you to tell our listeners how they can follow you, your investigative team, RKB Paranormal. Give your social media platforms and all that as far as how they can follow you guys.
All right. RKB. We're on all social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We have a website, rkbparanormal.com. We use all of our social media more or less for promotion, just kind of promoting what we're doing, locations we're going to be going to. And if we capture something really good, I'll kind of release like a little snippet, and then I'll eventually release like a full video on our YouTube. So all of our content we put out is actually on our YouTube. We don't I've stopped putting out full content on our social, so I want to kind of draw everybody to the YouTube page. And so that's where all of our content is. And Life Beyond 6 Feet, same thing. We're on all social media. We actually have a YouTube channel. Like I said, I record via Zoom, so I upload the video portion to YouTube, and I put out the audio portion to, I don't know, it's on 14 or 15 different formats: iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. You name it, it's probably on there. So
nice. When do you drop your episodes?
Every Sunday morning, 6 a.m. So, probably it'll be 7 a.m. your time, I guess. So,
gotcha.
6 8 the mornings.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. Hey, Damion, we want to thank you so much for taking time out and coming on our show. You have some great stories from your investigations, and, again, sorry about your friend Keith. That's very heartbreaking, but I love how you're honoring him and your team honoring him. We'll definitely check out your podcast. We'll stay in touch through social media, and I know hopefully our listeners will check you guys out. And I'm going to definitely look up your YouTube. I think that's going to be interesting as far as because it sounds like you got really good content. But hey, thanks for taking your time out, and have a great rest of the week, man.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Damion. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
There you go, creepies, Mr. Damion Christie. Excellent guest chat.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The stories were impeccable.
Love them. Love the stories.
I kind of like the one with the lady in white.
Oh, I did too.
I mean, I liked them all, but that one was very personal. And so on being on the property, and who was it? He said it was siblings or somebody. They didn't see it.
Yeah.
The apparition, and he's like, "What?"
Didn't he mention like
I don't know, I just
witch
like
or something floating over top of him? Something?
Yeah.
No, I don't want any part of that. I'm coming up swinging.
No, that type of thing
gave me chills.
Yeah. I mean,
actually, a few of his stories gave me chills, and that's signs of a really good creepy. Yikes.
Well, he say he was locked in a vault, and he got the scratches. And
Yeah.
He had awesome stories. I don't know what it is about that. Yeah, the property that he saw that lady in white, and then had the gravestones with the
Civil
War
War and
the little boy. Yeah.
See, some people don't love the creepy vibes. I love the creepy vibes. It's just that it is that weird feeling, but it's like, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he was great. So check out Damion Christie of RKB Paranormal. So, yeah, he was awesome. We'll have him on again. So
absolutely.
So coming off of that, Sean, what do you have for us?
I'm going to do what I'm going to consider a middle-aged dark side. And this was actually, I had two other songs figured out or thoughts, and I went this way, and you're going to love this, Nate. This one's for you, and Damien's going to love it too.
Wait a minute. Nate's going to love it. Is for
Damien's
Damion,
gonna love it. You and I are gonna love it too, Todd.
I'm here too.
I promise you're gonna.
I'm
But
just kidding.
wait till you hear.
It's probably Beatles, so you won't love it.
It's not
Yeah,
Beatles.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
You're gonna be. It is Dokken, Dream Warriors.
That's one of my favorite songs, man.
Sweet.
Okay, so
I told you that.
So this is for you too, Todd. Well, you just said you
Don't
weren't
make me sing it.
into the Freddy franchise. So.
No, but
Freddy-
but the song in the video,
This is
I
true.
love.
So Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3, right? We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I lay awake and dread the lonely nights. I'm not alone. I wonder if these heavy eyes can face the unknown. When I close my eyes, I realize you'll come my way. I'm standing in the night alone. This wasn't that hard of a song. I can't screw it up too much. Forever together. This is why I need to sing it, right? We're the Dream Warriors. Don't want to dream no
Don't
more.
wanna dream no more.
Letting you guys do this part. There you go. We're the Dream Warriors, and maybe tonight, you'll be gone.
Oh, yeah.
I feel the touch coming over me. This is getting inappropriate, man. I can't explain. I hear the voices calling out, calling my name. It's the same desire to feel the fire that's coming your way. I'm standing in the night alone, forever together. We're the Dream Warriors. Don't want to dream no more. We're the Dream Warriors. Maybe tonight you'll be gone. We're the Dream Warriors. Ain't gonna dream no more. And maybe tonight you'll be gone. Sweet revenge, the bitter end. This time, break the spell of illusion. Bound together, waiting for you. Dream Warriors, don't want to dream no more. We're the Dream Warriors. Maybe tonight you'll be gone. We're the Dream Warriors. Ain't gonna dream no more. Dream Warriors. So everybody out there sing it, right?
Ain't gonna dream
It's
no
running through my
more.
head.
Exactly.
We're the
If you haven't heard that song,
Awesome.
I don't know where you've been, but go out there and listen to it because it's
Oh, it's
Amazing.
constant radio lineup list.
Oh, man.
back in
Heck
'87.
yeah.
Oh yeah, my sophomore year, and like I said, it was on the top 20 MTV list. Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved it.
and I love that Damion was listening to that tonight on his
Yeah,
playlist on the way
yeah.
home. That's pretty cool.
Nate, you just let Nate and I sing it. Okay, start over.
Go for it.
That was good.
Maybe we could. Oh,
Yeah.
I know. We can end with it. That'll be our outro.
That'd be a song to do that. I like
that's a
that.
great.
That is a good idea.
It's a great
Sean.
idea.
Thank you for that. And now, please give the second announcement.
Second part of the announcements.
Please.
Follow us on our social media accounts. That's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Email us at our address, makopodcast@gmail.com. That's 2 A's.
At least you didn't say email us
I
at our
know.
email.
Hey.
You kind of did. But
I started to. Catch our weekly Tuesday Terror videos on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. We are on all podcast listening apps. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating and review. Leave a review if the app allows. Share the podcast with friends, family, coworkers, and anyone else you can. We sell merch of all kinds, so go get you some. We offer many types of show sponsorship opportunities for individuals and businesses. It's another way for you to support us, get your name mentioned, and or your business promoted. The sponsorship money goes right back into the show for merch giveaways, future on locations, live shows, etc. Please email us, reach out to one of us, or message us on Instagram for more information.
good.
Mediocre, right? I know.
About like me.
I tripped a couple times.
Oh, the sponsorship. I was like, well, excellent. Nate,
Yes.
what do you have for us, sir?
It's time for the Dream Warriors to get a little sleep. So that's a wrap.
You were in a dream?
Peaceful sleep, right?
I'm in a daze.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Hey, we want to thank you, Creepies, for listening to episode 121 and our amazing guest chat with Mr. Damion Christie of RKB Paranormal. And until next time, Nate is your sound engineer, and we are your hosts, Todd and Sean, and we are middle-aged.
And creeped out.
Keep it creepy.